of lollipops.
Wow, that is great, Linnea and Company. I had no idea what those signs said that I was holding. I hope it was good stuff. Next up, we have Gabe on his bagpipes.
Okay, I'm going to play a medley of 2 different songs. Start with Highland Cathedral and then go to the Dark Island. If I can make the strike, my bass drums are going
Thank you, Gabe. That was really cool. Let's see. Stuff to do. Packing. So, how was your trip to the puzzle store the other day? Puzzle store. Oh, yeah! It was amazing. There were so many puzzles. It took me forever, but I finally picked out this really cool one, and I took it home, and I worked on it, and I worked on it, and I worked on it, and I got it done in 2 days! 2 days? What's so special about that? No, you don't understand. On the box, it said 2 to 4 years! Alright, on that note, we are going to turn the stage over to Nathanael, who's going to do a comedy sketch for us.
The disadvantage of using a microphone is if I have a really bad punchline, I want to say it quietly. Well, anyway, we'll get to that later. This, if you haven't guessed, you're supposed to be laughing at some of this. I don't really care how you laugh. You can either laugh at the joke, which is a little bit more beneficial, or you can just laugh at me if it's a really bad joke. We might have to go with that, but just laugh hard. And it'll make me either feel really good or really bad. Okay, let's see. Well, you don't have to do that yet. You gotta save that for later. Okay, I'm guaranteeing you, some of you will not like these jokes. Hopefully I've picked a variety enough that you'll all laugh at least once, but some of them are kind of corny. Okay, first one. Okay, there was a military transport plane flying over a highly populated area. All of a sudden, the plane loses control and starts nosediving. The pilot says, "You gotta throw the stuff out, throw stuff out, we gotta make the plane lighter." So they throw out a pistol. And the pilot says, "No, that's not enough, throw out more." So they throw out a rifle. And the plane's still nosediving, about 500 feet from the ground, and he says, "Throw out more." So they heave out a missile. And so the plane finally loses enough weight that they can ride it and they land. So a little bit later, they get in a Jeep and they're driving along the road. They come across a little boy and he's crying like mad. And they say, "What's the matter?" He says, "I was walking along the road and a pistol hit me on the head." They apologize to him, they give him a lollipop, and they keep driving. And they come to another boy, he's crying even harder. Oh, he's practically dying. And they say, "What's wrong with you?" He says, "A rifle hit me on the head." And so they apologize and offer to pay his hospital bill. And so they keep driving. And now they come to another boy, but he's laughing hysterically. And they say, "So why are you laughing?" He says, "Oh, it's the funniest thing. I was outside and I sneezed and our barn blew up." Okay, we were talking about this at lunch. This is more a boys' table joke. So unfortunately, like, twice as many of you are girls than boys, but anyway, there was a man who got really bored one day, and so he decided to go ice fishing. And he goes out on the lake, drills his little hole, sits there for 2 hours and doesn't catch any fish. He looks over across the lake. There's a man dressed as an Eskimo, pulling out fish after fish after fish after fish after fish out of the lake. So he walks over, and right after the Eskimo man finishes pulling out a really big fish, he says, "What's your secret? You're pulling out 300 fish an hour and I haven't got a single thing." The Eskimo pauses, and he said, "Well, yes, I'm sure. Would you mind repeating that, sir?" He said, "Yes. Could you say that one more time?" And someone goes, "You have to keep the worms warm." Sorry, but we got that out of the way. Okay. Let's go from Alaska to New York now. There's a cab driver. He picks up a businessman on a busy street in New York, and they start driving. Because that's what taxi drivers are supposed to do. And they're driving along, busy street in New York. All of a sudden, the businessman taps him on the shoulder. The taxi man goes, "Ah!" except louder, and screeches around, almost hits a Greyhound bus, almost hits an old lady, runs over a mailbox and stops 3 inches from a shop window. Everything's silent for a minute or two, and then the taxi driver says, "Mate, don't do that to me again." The businessman says, "Sorry, I didn't know a little tap like that would scare you so bad." The taxi driver sighs and says, "Well, it's not really your fault. Today's my first day as a taxi driver. I've been driving a hearse for the last 25 years. Okay, I'm gonna do my shortest joke, a little one-liner. Heard it when I was a little kid. I loved it immediately, even though I never really listened to country music. Can we get a quick hand count? Do any of you here really like country music? Oh wow, more than I thought. You might want to cover your ears on this one. I don't know, but so how many country singers does it take to change a light bulb? 8. 1 to screw in the bulb, and 7 to sing about how much they'll miss the old one. see. Oh yes, this one was one of the first jokes I ever told. So I think if you know me long enough, I'll eventually tell it. I call it the nun joke. So, one day, a cop on an interstate pulls over a car full of nuns. They're going like 20 miles an hour, 70-mile-an-hour highway. So he stops them, taps on the window. The head nun rolls down the window and says, "Officer, what can I do for you today?" He says, "Ma'am, this is a 70-mile-an-hour highway. You're going 25 miles an hour. What are you doing?" She said, "70-mile-an-hour highway? There was a sign back there that said 23. He stops a second, thinks about it. He says, "Sister, oh, that's not the speed limit. That's the name of the highway you're on." She goes, "Oh, wow. Wow, that does make a difference. Well, I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again. Thank you for telling us this." He says, "No problem." He's about to leave and move on, but then he looks in the back seat. There's like 6 nuns back in the back seat. They're all white as ghosts and shaking and trembling. He says, "Sister, what's wrong with your friends back there? They look like they've seen a ghost." And she looks back at them, she laughs. "Oh, them. Well, you see, we just got off of Highway 270. Okay, this might be the worst one, but it's going to be the last one. Okay. Let's see, there's a certain man that dies, and he goes to heaven. And he meets God. And he says, "God, can I ask you a couple questions?" God says, "Sure, go right ahead." He says, "God, why did you make girls so pretty?" God says, "So you'd like them." The man says, "Why did you have to make them so beautiful, though?" He said, "So you'd love them." He said, "Okay, but God, why did you make them such airheads?" God said, "Well, so they'd love you."
Alright, thank you, Nathanael, for making us laugh. As you always do, even when you aren't on stage. Next up, we have Brandon. Somewhere. Where is he? There he is! And he is going to play some music for us. Of some sort.
This is a modern reproduction of a Renaissance reed instrument, and it's the reed is in here. It's in effect sort of operates under the same principle as a bagpipe, except without the bag. So it'll end up sounding something like that.